Hey everyone, and welcome to my build video on how to make a derail sign. So I'm just holding up these derail stickers here from Rapido Trains. You saw them there zoomed in nice and close. I'm going to be using those big square ones. We're going to take a beer can and use that for the actual sign material. It's nice and thin and works really well for that sort of purpose. We'll just speed this part up here. And next, what I'm going to do is just kind of cut out a square that we can use for it. And what I'm going to do here is just sort of straighten that square of aluminum out just to make it nice and straight and flush. There we go. That's what it looks like there. You see the painted side there. So what I'm going to do now is, for some reason I decided that I was going to cut this smaller. And I left this part in the video even though I kind of realized later that it was redundant. The foil itself, or sorry, the aluminum can itself actually cuts really nicely with an X-Acto knife. Let's break a little piece off here and I'll just speed through the rest. So we're just going to put a fresh blade on now, so I'm just pulling out a fresh one from my stack of blades. We want a nice fresh blade when we are cutting the decal paper. We don't want the one that we used to cut the aluminum can up with. Apparently putting this blade in is a little more difficult than I had thought it would be. Anytime now. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Nice and tight. Sorry, I edited the color a little bit here just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And the angle isn't that great, and there's going to be quite a few scenes in this video where I accidentally have shot it, so you're just looking at my wrist. But anyways, we're going to take that decal now, and it's now that it's cut out, I'm going to take some microset. Microset helps soften decals, and will also help it lay flat against the aluminum here. So I'm just rubbing a little bit on the aluminum. I'll put that away and place it up there, and oh no, not so much. Okay, well, the next thing we're going to do is just dunk the decal itself in some water. I have a bit of water in that little dish there. Now it only needs to be in there for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and it'll start coming loose pretty quick. So I'm just going to make sure I got my aluminum nice and square, and we'll get the decal out here. And I'm going to place the decal, ideally try and get it close to one of the edges. It'll save me a little bit of cutting, so I only have to cut off of one square edge. So we'll just get that on there nice and straight, and we'll slide it off the decal paper here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that cotton swab that has some microsol setting solution on it still, and I'm just going to kind of go over it again, smooth it out, and just make sure that it's completely covered in that setting solution. Also just again verifying that it's square to one edge of the aluminum. And there we go. Perfect. So the next step is going to be to give it a little bit of spray of dull coat. Now I did let that dry for about 20 minutes or so. It's alcohol based, so it dries up really quick. So now that I know that that logo is on there good, I'm going to just cover it with some dull coat just to give it some extra protection. And yes, I'm spraying it in the room. So we'll just set that aside. I'm going to let that sit for about 30 minutes, and then that will just make sure that that decal is not going to come off when I handle it again. So this is some 0.035 inch styrene rod, and I'm going to use these for signposts. This one here I've already painted silver, or sort of a metallic silver color. So now what I'm going to do is just kind of cut it roughly to length. I actually don't know at this point how long I'm going to make it, and so I'm just going to cut a little bit oversized here, just so I have some extra wiggle room to play with. So the next thing we need to do before we can glue that signpost on is we need to cut this decal out. Now it's all dried up now, so I'm just going to use my steel ruler here, and you can see I put it upside down so that it would pinch the decal to the board nice and firmly. With the cork side down, it wasn't doing that very well for me. So we'll just score this a few times, and it should just snap right off, just like drywall might snap off, and we'll speed the rest up. Okay, so I'm just sanding the edges of what I cut, just using some 600 grit sandpaper. This is wet dry sandpaper. Seems to do the trick just to smooth the edges over a bit. This allows me to also get just that little bit closer to the edge of the decal so that there's no metal showing. Another step that I did not show earlier in the video is before I glued that decal on, I actually sandpapered the beer logo off the back side of it, so it was just two sides of aluminum, and the smooth inner side at the side I stuck the decal to. That's kind of an important step because you want to adhere your decal to a nice smooth glossy surface. Alright, and that's what she looked like when it's all cut out. Going to take a little bit of this Gorilla Glue here. It's actually a CA glue. It's about a medium to thick viscosity. And I'm just going to get a drop out. And I'm going to use that to stick the signpost to the back of the derail sign. Just a little drop will do it. It doesn't take much. This is kind of where I'm wishing I had some zip kicker to spray on the back in order to speed the dry process up. Once you get it into a perfect spot, as soon as you touch it, it's really easy to knock it out of alignment. But I'll get it all placed right here. Now, on these pictures of the signs I've seen, the top sticks out a little bit over the sign itself. Sort of the post sticks out over top of the sign itself. And so I want to replicate that here. And I'll show you this a little bit closer up here. So to get the focus right. Here we go. So the next step is to clean up where we're going to put this. Take the guy away and see the derail placeholder I've got in there that came with that derail kit that you see installed there. So what I'm doing here is I'm measuring about 1.25 inches from track center line to where I'm going to place this. Did some conversions, and about 16 feet from center line seems to be about right. Maybe a little bit more. I went for a little bit more in this case. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to kind of do a dry fit. And yeah, I think I'm just going to shorten that before I actually stick it in case it goes in really well. Yeah, so the ballast alone isn't going to hold it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my drill bit. Now this drill bit is the same size as the post, so it's about 0.035 drill bit. And we're just going to drill into the plywood a little bit. See if we can get this thing to stand up. So I'll just give it another try here. seems really loose. It's not really wanting to stay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to a 0.040 drill bit. So this is just one size up. And so it's slightly larger than the diameter of the signpost. And we'll just get that nice and drilled in there. And we'll see how this fits here. Right there, yeah, you can just feel it going in nice and stiff there. So now I know I've got that in the hole. I'm just going to try and just get it sort of positioned straight as possible. Not all signs are straight up and down. Some do have a bit of a lean over the years, so I'm quite happy to leave it close to this position. So the next step here is I'm going to add some ballast just to kind of fill in the divot I made when I was drilling this hole out. So we'll just get all that sifted right about where I want it. And a little adjustment again. A little bit more ballast. And I'll just smooth that out a little bit. Perfect. So the next step here is, once I've got this where I want it, is I'm going to use 70% isopropyl alcohol, and I'm just going to soak the area with that. So generally I like to do this when I lay my ballast. It's one of the first steps that I do. This will allow the glue that I put on to flow freely and deep down into the ballast, and it will help secure this sign. Now the glue I'm going to use is just 50-50 white glue and water with a little bit of dish detergent in it to help break the surface tension. And when I drip it in here, you'll see how it just sucks right in. The alcohol is just pulling it right into the ballast. The other beauty of gluing this sign in this way is it's not a super strong bond, so I'll be able to pull it out. If I had put some white glue, straight up white glue on the end of that signpost, it would be hard to take out later. And that is it. So just a couple of gratuitous shots of the newly installed derail sign, and I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching.